Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Anfield Index Podcast. It's episode 300 and something, and I am broadcasting to you from my house in a field in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm still Trev Downey, and I'm still joined by Marie Hanahan and Kam Brainch for this particular podcast of Liverpool-based chit-chat. Now, before we get into it, I've just noticed that my volume sounds weird. Am I sounding okay to you guys? I sound very low to me for some reason.
Low
is that okay?
Good. It's fine.
All right.
You sound wonderful as always, Trev.
Oh, God, don't. We won't hear the end of this now. If you'd done that in your voice, that would have been it then.
It was kind of halfway there.
It was half in the voice, I think.
Yeah. It was good. Well, for the record, I wasn't fishing. I was genuinely just worried that it wouldn't come out clearly. So, I have had a week, lads. I have had a week. Less said about it, the better. Just suffice to say that in Irish terms, it was a fucking dose. So I've been looking for things to cheer me up a bit. And I came across one of my old favorites who always used to make me laugh with the silliness that he used to come out with. He's a guy called Carl Pilkington. You might know of him, Kam. I'm not sure if he made the transition across the water.
I can relate to Carl very much so.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think that everybody can sort of just hang their hat on when he starts having a little moan. He's very much every middle-aged bloke, I think. So I have a couple of little clips of Carl. The second one, I'm going to have to cut it off because it's too long, and I'll just give you the first couple of bits. The first one, however, is just at the end of a longer stint, and the lads are talking about what they would do if it was the end of the world. So here's clip number one for you with Mr. Pilkington, joined by his pals Stephen Merchant and Ricky Gervais.
The days of Nostradamus, there's been many people who've tried to foresee the future. Carl, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's endless predictions. Apparently there are other planets that may collide with ours. There's some scientific basis on this. But if you knew with certainty that today was the end of the world, how would you spend that final day? So, for instance, I've always wanted to smash up a bar. Do you know what I mean? It's strange, but I've always wanted the exhilaration of just smashing all those bottles, like you see in a film.
But would you enjoy it as much knowing that you're going to die in 8 hours?
I don't know. I suppose it's the sense of abandon. Maybe I'd murder a person. Just say, I don't know. But I think I'd probably go mental because I've always been a very reserved person. I've never got into a fight, never caused a rumpus.
Yeah, but that's a worrying thought because we don't have to have the end of the world for it to be the end of your world, because a lot of people know that they're terminally ill, so they don't go around smashing up bars and killing people.
But I suppose I know there'll be no repercussions ultimately, because the next day everyone's gone, so there's not going to be mourning families.
But then how dare you deprive that person of his last 8 hours or 10 hours of life?
I don't care, because it's the last day on Earth.
What would you do?
I've always wanted to kick a duck up the arse.
Yeah, so that one set me up nicely, and
Oh my.
Here's some predictions Carl's making about what the future may look like.
Alright, I'm Carl, and the future.
He's already gone off-road.
It's a scary place, but
the future's going to happen. Right? There's no getting away from that.
Yeah. Okay, your predictions are?
Well, we're all.
It's not a soundbite.
Give him space.
It's in a book. I've got to think about.
Think first. Think and then say it. Okay, starting from now, these words of wisdom will be inscribed on a wall of a museum one day. Proceed.
I think trousers are going to be stopped being made. Just because you see kids now, they've got pants around their ankles. They're going further and further down. So I think that's evolution, just getting rid of the trouser.
Right.
It's just dropping naturally.
That's the evolution of the trouser, because it's dropping increasingly down the arse.
Kids' underpants, so they're just dropping.
Yeah.
I think they'll get to a point when they just don't bother wearing them anymore.
Right.
Prediction 1. That's an amazing one.
They'll stop making trousers in the future. Okay.
We're going to get weaker. That's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
They used to say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now they're saying eat 5 fruits.
Right.
So we've definitely that's evidence. You can't argue with that. I'll probably put that first because the guy's right. What's number 2? So swap that round.
Okay, that's number 1.
Give him the pants second.
Yep.
I'm gonna die.
Okay, number 3.
Say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. They used to say, pull your trousers up. No, they say, put them down you can.
Number 3.
Number 3. Oh, the scholars are now waiting with bated breath when they find this old scroll, and they go, "Ooh, what can number 3 be?"
I reckon we'll blend all our food. No, because
he was going to make a point about race. We'll blend all our food.
like they do for babies, you mean?
I just think when you think about all the stuff we eat now, cavemen chewing on big lumps of meat.
Yeah.
We had wisdom teeth.
Yeah.
Now they say, take them out. You're not using them.
Yeah.
Why not using them? Because your food's soft.
Yeah.
Sorbet.
Yeah.
Soups.
Yeah.
Everything's soft, isn't it? When you get an avocado, they say, is it soft? Everyone's squeezing the food before they buy it.
Yeah.
No one wants anything tough.
Yeah.
So I think chewing is a sort of thing of the past. We haven't got.
I could go on listening to this nonsense all day, but I better get it back on track. Anyway, that was an extended, longer than usual bit, but like I say, I think we all need a laugh these days, so hopefully you get a laugh out of that. He's good fun, isn't he?
He's incredible. He's just great value.
It's a good formula the way they literally it's set up that it seems like, well, because they are being incredibly cruel, but he's just really good at taking it and throwing stuff back. I have to say it's excellent. Kam, what have you got to start us with? But more to the point, lad. Have you had a better week than me? Tell me you have.
From the sounds of it, I guess I have, yeah. Nothing has happened. It's just been one of those weeks. Go to work, come home, go to work, come home. So, looking forward to watching the football tomorrow. I'm really excited about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? I think
it does feel like a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Feels longer than the fortnight it was.
Yeah.
I believe you have a quote to start us with.
Yeah, sort of complete opposite of where you were, so I'm not sure I really want to do this now after where we've been, but it is what it is, so I'm not going to change today, so here we go. Wars of nations are fought to change maps, but wars of poverty are fought to map change.
Ooh, clever.
Ooh.
Also
Insightful.
Comparatively insightful as well. I actually love that you've gone there. That's pretty much exactly what this show is all about. Going from talking about trousers becoming extinct to profound observations about war. Who's the author of that, or is it just something you came across that's one of those sort of unattributed ones?
The great sportsman ever.
The what? Who?
The greatest sportsman ever.
The greatest sportsman ever. Well, you know who I think that is.
And you know who I think that is.
I did not think that I've never heard that quote from him before.
There you go. Mad, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic. Well, he always was a bit of a wordsmith, but that's even that's mad. I never knew that was one.
No, I've never heard that before. So I mean, the first quote was a Mother Teresa quote that I came across, but then this was the third one. I was like, wow, just 2 sentences, bang, nail on head. Ali with a knockout again.
Ali with another knockout. You gotta love it. Lisa Marie, how was your week? Are you upping the happy quotient, or was yours difficult as well? I think you were traveling, weren't you?
I was. It's been kind of a crazy week. Yes, I was in Oklahoma for Monday and Tuesday. But more importantly, or not more importantly, but also I've had children going off to other parts of the state. Child number 2 was in Knoxville from Sunday through Wednesday, and then child number 3 left Wednesday and is still in Chattanooga. She comes home tomorrow. So yeah, it's been a lot of packing in the Hanahan household this week and unpacking.
Two of my favorite American place names are Knoxville and Chattanooga. I just by the by, I have to say, I do actually like both of them a lot. There's some fantastic names around your neck of the woods. There really are some interesting names.
Well, a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure Chattanooga, are a lot of them, are based on the Native American.
Yeah, exactly.
Places.
Exactly. And the few times I've driven around Florida as well, there's some incredible and what names down there that
from the Seminoles and Creeks and stuff. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Basically, lots of cases and cabs and airport runs and stuff like that. Then yeah.
Well, the kids both were just had to be taken up to their schools, and they went by bus. Because Chattanooga's only just over 2 hours away, and Knoxville's just a bit over 3, so they're not too bad. I know that probably sounds further away for you all than it does for me, but
yeah. We've had this conversation before, and especially when I think, considering the audience you've got here in me and young Kaminder there, I actually love driving. So part of me envies you the option to be able to go from one side of your country to the other and it take days of driving. I think I'd actually enjoy that. And we know Kam is more than capable of putting in a big stretch in the car. Whether he enjoys it or not is another thing. But yeah, you're right. I mean, basically, the little journey there that your second kid did, that probably takes you across Ireland, if we're being honest,
But but people here in the States, I know I've mentioned multiple times, my husband's from the New England area, and because their states are smaller and the cities are more concentrated. I mean, he lived within a 3-hour radius of, New York City and Boston and, in multiple places. Whereas, Tennessee isn't as bad, but I mean, when you go out, out west, I mean, the states and the major cities are just so spread out that it's just different. So anyway, so there was some travel, that happened in the Hanahan household this week. Now, as part of and I think you both responded to it on Twitter or whatever, but I had some time. I flew into Oklahoma City, and the hospital I was going to was in a town called Stillwater, which is about an hour north. And so I had some time between my flight coming in and my colleague's flight coming in. And I actually went down to downtown Oklahoma City and visited the memorial from the Oklahoma City bombing that took place in April of 1995. And, and that's just one of those things, of course, heard about it and, saw all kinds of pictures and all the things. But just to actually walk, in that area, and part of the memorial is actually some of the remains of the walls from the Murr building that are still standing. So it was it's something I'm glad I took time to do. So
yeah, I've spent a lot of time reading about that particular horrific incident. It's fascinating and awful in equal measures. So yeah, I'd imagine it was quite a powerful thing. Would you say it's the Murrow building, isn't it? Murrow,
yeah, it's the Alfred, and I can't remember the middle initial, maybe P. Murrow building.
I think, yeah.
It was a federal building, and it had a daycare center in it, so there were children who were killed. And actually, when I was looking at the memorial, and if you've ever looked at pictures of it, they did like chairs representing, all the lives lost. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I'm not quite understanding this pattern. And then as I was walking through, I came across a plaque, and they're in group. It was a 9-story building. And so each grouping reflects the number of people who were killed on each floor. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So, so it's just interesting. There is a museum as well. I did not have a chance to go visit that, but, it's just, I always try, I visit a lot of places for work that I honestly would, not go to otherwise. And so when I do have the time, I try to take the time, to appreciate where I am and, and something local about that place. So.
Yeah, I think it's a solid policy if you can manage to free up a couple hours to do it. It's a great idea. And I take it then based on that, you've got an equally sort of heavy duty quote for us, do you?
No, I really don't. Actually, in keeping with the fact that today is April Fool's Day, I just thought I'd pull up a little April Fool's Day history, or we are recording on April the 1st. So, this is from history.com, so I'm assuming it's a fairly reliable source. Some historians speculate that April Fool's Day dates back to 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, as called for by the Council of Trent in 1563. In the Julian calendar, as in the Hindu calendar, the new year began with the spring equinox around April 1. People who were slow to get the news or failed to recognize the start of the new year had moved to January 1 and continued to celebrate it during the last week of March through April 1, became the butt of jokes and hoaxes, and were called April Fools. So,
I like it. A
little bit of knowledge.
A little bit of knowledge. Yeah. This again, and you'll have to forgive me, at least Marie. But occasionally there will be, because of the fact that myself and Kam are obviously so much older than you. There will be occasionally just think.
Speak for yourself, Trev.
Did you see Kam? The people were posting up, like they always do on this day of the year, the photo that was the cover of Shoot magazine back in 87, I think, with Ian Rush in an Everton kit. Did you see that?
I haven't seen that today, no, but I've seen it previously. Do
you remember it at the time? Because God knows I do. I got Shoot religiously.
I wouldn't have seen it in 87. No, I wouldn't have seen it.
Isn't it mad when you think about it, folks, that had the power that it did have, to actually make some people do a double take, at least to be sort of shocked or worried for a little while. Isn't it mad that how different pre-internet was? Do you know that you couldn't just check something instantly and people were fretting a little bit about it? I was just saying.
Teletext. Everyone was on teletext.
Teletext, yeah. Fucking teletext. Wow.
Here's one for you. Do you remember listen, Marie, this will go over your head now. There's a BBC news program here in the UK called Panorama, and they did the spaghetti tree.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And it was glorious. It was like, this is how spaghetti is made, folks, in Italy, and this is what they do. They grow it and then they cut it off, and it was like on April the 1st as well. It's like, how many people would have fallen for that? And it was so old, that program. I remember it. I mean, maybe it's because we just had a black and white TV, but I just assumed it was going back to early 70s. That was.
Yeah. I've seen that clip several times, and it never fails to surprise you how easily people are taken in by mad shit. But I'll tell you what, I witnessed with my own eyes today, the saddest April Fool joke ever. I mean, I was genuinely upset afterwards, thinking about what this actually means. So a colleague of mine came in. I was teaching a lot of guys who are kind of 14 age group, so one of my younger classes. They'd be second year here in secondary school. And the colleague who came in is their nominal year head. And she said, we've got 1 week left and then it's Easter holidays, right? So she said, okay, guys, I need you to take out your journals and make a note here. I'm running an intensive revision course every day of the Easter holidays. I'm going to need you to come in for 2 hours in the morning. That's every day, and we will be taking attendance. You're all expected to show now, okay? This is a very important part of your student career. And I swear to God, the entire class, in a sort of defeated, dejected way, reached into their bags, took out their journals and started scribbling this thing down. And I was going, really? Are we serious? And then one little lad down the back had a little sort of smirk, suspicious head on him. He said, "Is this an April Fool's, miss?" And yes, it is. But like, I couldn't believe it. They were all just broken. I mean, what is wrong? Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, what is wrong with these poor bastards? This last couple of years has just broken them. They're just like, oh Christ, they just went with it. I was just, oh my God, that is just so sad.
See, well, I mean, you're right. The last couple of years have probably, but I was going to say, I think kids would be far more suspicious about that sort of thing now than several years ago.
Look, they are more cynical for sure.
Yeah.
But
trust me,
whatever.
I am mother to 3 very cynical people.
Yeah, three cynics. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I have stories, but we better get to the football. We better get to the football, and in doing so, I'd like to start, if we could, with just a look forward to what is. I mean, it's pretty bad, isn't it, Lisa Marie, when you hear someone of the status and experience and ridiculously large trophy and medal collection of Thiago saying that this might well be the most exciting month that he's ever looked ahead to. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. I think you'll agree. And it is an amazing month for us ahead, with some of the biggest games you could imagine, all crammed into such a small period of time. And I just kind of want to get a feel for it with you guys. I spoke to Jan about this last night, and we kind of went down through it in a little bit of a semi-systematic way. I don't want to do that with you. I don't want to put you under the spotlight to do that. But we are going to have a quick look at Watford and Benfica, even though Watford will do much less on Watford, because by the time this show is published, it'll be only mere hours before that Watford game is played. We're recording Friday night. It's now 7:30, and obviously we're playing at 12:30 on Saturday. So that's there's no turnaround there. So we'll have a little focus on the Champions League tie with Benfica. And then I wouldn't mind just looking at the 2 city games as a kind of a thing, and taking your pick of the rest of them then. And just for the record again, there's always people who are listening who just maybe aren't on top of everything, and there are other people who know everything backwards and forwards. But just for the record, we do start tomorrow at Watford, and then on Tuesday we have to go out to Portugal to play Benfica before coming home to travel to Manchester to play City in the Premier League, and then another 3 days after that, it's Benfica at Anfield. And could you believe it? Another 3 days after that, it's City again. And this time we're playing them in the Cup. And I do want to talk to you around about a couple of stories to do with that sort of mess that the FA have organised there. That's the 16th. 3 days later, it's Manchester United at home. 5 days later, it's Everton at home. And to finish out the month, 6 days later, it is Newcastle away. Now, I don't know what to say to you, except that is a whole lot of football. There's part of me is really looking forward to it and thinks it might really suit us if we're lucky-ish with injuries, because we do seem to be a rhythm team. So I'm just looking forward to getting a few takes from you guys on that. Let's start, if we can, Lisa Marie, with the European fixtures that we've got. I think I have a worry that an awful lot of people are taking this one a little bit too lightly. Is that a feeling you've had? Because everyone's talking about what a great draw it is, and you have to be objective and say, yes, it's one of the better draws we could have got, but it makes me nervous, that type of thing.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to confess, I know next to nothing about Benfica as a club other than it's in Portugal. So
well, can we all be equally open about the fact that that's the majority of football fans who are even listening to this? I mean, you might have seen them a couple of times in the Champions League. You'll know a handful of players that play with them. But if you are genuinely watching the European leagues, like to the extent that you're watching Portuguese football on a regular basis, you know, you're in a different bracket than the three of us, and we openly admit that. And, you know, you do you and we'll do us. But, because that's never going to be part of my bag. I listen to young Matchett and young Hendrick chatting about players, and I go, oh, it's nice that there are people out there who are willing to do that for me.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I rely very heavily on Karl Matchett and Dave Hendrick.
Because I honestly couldn't be arsed, and like, I don't mind. I'll openly admit that. But just in terms of the enormity of it, like, let's not lose track of that. We don't want to be anything other than advancing past Benfica. Anything other than that would be a terrible calamity, setback for the season and all the rest of it. And the fact that the two games sandwich the biggest league game of the freaking year, it's an enormous ask. And I know a lot of lads were saying, Lisa Marie, wouldn't it be great if we could go out there? I was saying it myself, if we could go out there and get a good old score racked up. And again, I hear myself saying it, I go, you arrogant bastard, you know what I mean? You know, but I wanted to reflect just that I have tremendous faith in this group of footballers. I think they can beat anyone by a cricket score on any given day. So that's where I am with that. But just talk to me around about that. The enormity of it is kind of hard to get your head around, isn't it? Those three games back to back, two huge European ties, sandwiching the biggest league game of our season.
It is a lot. And I think even especially since we've been away from football for a couple, during this international break, so this to come up, as we're coming back into it is, of course, I think probably even part of it is just given a lot of time for people to talk about it and speculate about it, and all of those things that happen around it. I do think we certainly absolutely have it in our team to pull out wins for all three of those fixtures, and I think our team is also very good about playing the game in front of them, or have been in the past, and nothing has really shown us that, they don't continue to have that mindset. So, I feel pretty good about it, but I do always I think I still go back to, I guess it was the Leicester game in the league that, we lost back around New Year's, where, I still give Dave and Carl a hard time because they're like, oh yeah, we're going to smash these. And, at halftime I'm, messaging Dave and going, you promised me a 6-0 victory. Where is it?
I have to break something to you, right? I know. If you were to listen to the lad, he 100% does sound like the Oracle, but Dave can be wrong at times.
Oh, I absolutely know he can. But it was just, but he and Carl were both so sure that we were going to just, blow them away. And that was not what happened that day. But leaving that in the past, because it's in the past and it's all kind of worked out, so it's okay. But I think ever since then, I take these sort of predictions, if you will, with kind of a grain of salt, just like, okay, I certainly hope that's the way it works out, but I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
Yeah, I get that.
So, yeah, and they've made me a skeptic because I'm generally the blind optimist. So that's what they did to me on that day, is they turned me into a skeptic. So thanks, guys.
Cheers for that, lads. But Kam, I'm looking at Liverpool's record in the Premier League. I think is it 9 or 10 wins in a row? I think
I think it's 9.
And
Yeah, I think it's 9.
as I go back through them here, I'm just looking at the fixtures here. We barely concede any goals at all. I think it might be 2 goals conceded in that whole Premier League run. It might be just 2 goals. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. It's one of the it's a low key one of the best runs we've had under Klopp. And exactly when we needed it. And that again, that feeds in, doesn't it, to your, and I don't mean it's not arrogance, but it feeds into your confidence when you're trying to assess a fixture schedule like that. Because honestly, in previous years, you'd have looked at that and you'd be saying, holy shit, we're banging trouble here. This is going to be awful. But not so now, man. Just not so. And it's not arrogance, and it's not it's not laziness or whatever the word is. It's not being too expectant or entitled. It's just, you just feel like each of these games, take them on their merits. We could do a job. Do you have that? Because you've emerged as our podcast realist stroke, occasionally veering towards the pessimism bracket. Do you look at that and think, yeah, but that's too much? We can't possibly keep all those plates spinning with games every 3 days of that intensity.
No, I think we need the games every 3.5 days, 4 days, 3 days, however you want to look at it. People claim we play 3 games a week, but you can't play 3 games a week 2 weeks running. That's just impossible. That'd be a game every 2 days. People, you need to realise it might be 3 games in 1 week, but it's only 2 games the next week. So, just work it out on the days on the calendar, yeah? So that always astounds me how people...
Fucking hell, he's done it again, Lisa Marie.
Just read a calendar, people.
Yeah. But like, I mean, Kam.
I'm getting there, don't worry, I'm getting there.
No, but man, seriously, this requires an intervention. Our listeners are sound people who understand all this stuff. Stop giving them shit.
I'm not aiming at the listeners per se. I'm just saying, you see stuff online sometimes and you're like, honestly, get real. It's not 3 games a week every week. Yeah. It might happen 1 week where we play on a Sunday, then we play midweek, and then we play on a Saturday. But then the following week, it'll be a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's only 2 games the following week then, isn't it? So it's not 3 games every week.
Absolutely. I was following your logic, Kam.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
But we need, it averages 2 games a week, yeah? So we need those 2 games a week, or 2.5 games a week, whichever, if you want to be pedantic now, because I've said 5 games in 2 weeks. So we need that because it's exactly as you said. It's about rhythm, and it's also then about confidence, and it's also, we've now got to a point with the squad we have where the minutes are being managed. And I know you don't like it, Trev, but chronic load and all that malarkey is important. I know you don't want it in this show per se. I know you realise it is an important factor of what the club is doing, and it's the way it is now. Players have to have their minutes managed. Not everyone can be a Virgil van Dijk and stroll through a game like a Rolls Royce purring in second gear. Other players are playing at a higher intensity. They're busting a gut more. They're running more. They're putting in more sprints. Virgil never sprints. He never gets to top speed because his jogging pace is as fast as a lot of strikers. His intensity is less. So we have to watch what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I just think the way it's set up for us now, this month is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. It's as Thiago says, it's, the biggest month he's probably ever been part of. But as supporters, it's the biggest month we've ever been a part of. We're playing City twice. We've got 2 Champions League games. We've got an FA Cup semi-final. Obviously, that's City. We've got league games galore. We've got City, United, Everton in the same month. Can you believe that? City, Everton, United in the same month. When was the last time you ever said that, Trev?
It's bananas. It's bananas.
It's just nuts. It's monkey nuts. Honestly.
But you know as well, there's the added factor as well of those games. Like, and I was dealing with this particular question with Jan on the show last night, and he was being pragmatic and saying, okay, look, Manchester United and Everton, they're not at the level that they used to be, so therefore you have to be optimistic about those games. So you got to think about them as potential or likely, maybe not likely, but definitely games that can be won.
Yeah.
And you know, you're trying to rationalize things away, but at the end of the day, it is the Manx. At the end of the day, it is the Ev, and they might be absolutely wretched, and they might be underperforming.
Goes out the window for those games.
Well, you see, that cliche is still knocking around because it's got a little bit of heft to it. You know, it's I'm going to ask you a simple question, and it's not to be putting you on the spot for predictions, but what ones there do you look at and wince and go, that's going to be really tough?
Well, City away, obviously. That's going to be incredibly difficult. City at Wembley is going to be incredibly difficult.
Am I right? Am I right in saying, aren't I, that City will be slap bang between their own European ties, and they've got that could be an issue.
I don't know their fixture.
I'm pretty sure. Yes, seems like I remember hearing discussion of that on another podcast.
Yeah, I think so they're going to have equal amounts. What we have to remember is, I know they've got the squad 10, all squads, etc., but we do have to remember that they're managing the same amount of games. So that is interesting. That will play into it, and we have to hope that Pep will go full galaxy brain again when it comes to the games against Klopp and decide to play.
It's going to start tomorrow for him. If we win tomorrow, we go ahead of them, and then his mind just scrambles because then he's chasing all of a sudden, and when he's chasing, he has a tendency to do the odd daft thing. And you could see it possibly tomorrow when they play, or whenever they're playing. They're playing tomorrow or something.
They do play tomorrow. Obviously after us, but they play tomorrow.
Is it 3 o'clock kickoff or a 5:30 kickoff with them? Just curious, because I'm meeting future in-laws tomorrow, and future son-in-law's there, and he's a City fan.
Oh.
Wow, you're allowing that, huh?
Words have been said.
I hope you'll be pitching up with your Sean Dyche mask on,
eating worms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want to be a Burnley fan for the evening, right? That's definitely the plan.
Oh, is that who they're playing?
They're playing Burnley, and it's at, if I've done the math right, 3 o'clock your time.
There you go.
Oh, right, okay, that's all right. Yeah. I'll either be sat there with a very smug smile on my face, or I'll be very annoyed at him, and then I'll just kick shit out of him.
Yeah, you're not feeling anyone there, Branchy. But I have to say, as I listen to it, I'm very aware that we're skipping over Watford, and I don't want anyone to think that that's because it's an afterthought of a game. Again, I'm hyper aware of all this stuff. I don't know why. I never ever want to be seen as one of those guys who takes shit for granted, because I am reveling in every great thing that's happening under Klopp and in this era. And this game against Watford, against old Owlhead, is going to be a tremendous test as well. We've got lads coming back from long journeys and big travel and stuff like that. We were told, I think, by Kloppo in the press release, Marie, that Trent wonderfully should be ready for the Benfica match. This is the finest news we could have had, because I wasn't looking forward to trying to factor in team lineups without that kid. It's just, it becomes very difficult. He's such an essential core part of the team that we don't have anyone. You and I and Kam had this conversation in the last show. I had it with Jan last night, and you just realize there are no good options. There are no good options without Trent. This is great, and hopefully against Watford tomorrow we'll have Joey Gomez starting, and he'll do a great job. I'd love that. I would love that. I'd love him to be still hanging around, but we had that conversation already. But in terms of this Watford game, and just to give it its due for a minute, I mean, I think you're exactly the same as me, right? There's nobody taking this thing for granted, especially, like I say, with all the exhaustion and effort that's gone into those international freaking games. I'm thinking, Lisa Marie, of poor old Mo Salah, who's been flogged to death with international duty of late, and then had all sorts of laser pointers and crowd abuse to deal with, and travel and all the rest of it. It's going to be a big ask. And then when he came back from AFCON, Lisa Marie, we were hoping, weren't we, that he was just going to come back with a bang and be all pissed off and scoring 10 goals a game. It didn't happen. There's probably less,
because he was exhausted.
Yeah, that's what it says. There's probably less reason to expect it to happen this time around, because he's just going to have more miles on the clock. And if anything, that kid probably just needs a couple of good few weeks to recharge. So I hope people aren't expecting, you know, I saw this narrative of Mo's coming back and he's going to be angry, you know. It didn't really work out like that the last time. It's a big ask in this fella. He's such a linchpin. He's played so much football. I mean, when you look at this game tomorrow, do you expect there to be a few sort of potentially surprising, eyebrow-raising selections from Kloppo, given the fact that so many of them are going to be factoring in a lot of tiredness from travel and all the rest of it?
I do think it'll likely be at least a rotated team to start, and then if, you know, the people that we would expect maybe to start are likely going to be on the bench, and so that if, you know, needs be, Klopp can bring them in. But yeah, I mean, especially again, knowing the run of games we've got coming up and everything else. I do think the initial look at the lineup tomorrow morning will probably raise a couple eyebrows. You know, that there's always that initial, you're like, oh, and then you're like, well, okay, I guess that makes sense. You know, when you take a step back and look at the big picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, okay, that's probably the better way to go. So yeah, I'm expecting, you know, I mean, I think you're right. I think Joe Gomez is likely to be, you know, in for Trent, you know, and then maybe, you know, is in for Trent. I mean, maybe Henderson's in for Fabinho, because I mean, Fab was, you know, in Brazil, and that's, you know, a journey. And yeah, so I'm the midfield will be interesting to see kind of what goes there, but yeah, I think we're going to probably see some rotation. I mean, although we've seen a lot of rotation, you know, it's not the scary thing that it was.
No, because the people,
you know, in the past.
Yeah, you're right. The people stepping in are either more capable or of a higher standard, or have raised themselves to a higher standard or whatever, because it's less of a drop off with the current rotation, which is fantastic. And we're going to need every one of those guys. And like I say, that's about as much as we can say about Watford, because by the time you're listening to this, the Watford game will be over, and we can only hope that the Reds have put themselves psychologically ahead by going top. That would be wonderful. But just to go back for a couple more minutes to this month, I mean, I don't want to be. This isn't in any way supposed to sound like I'm being a bit of a Cassandra or a downer on it at all. But I'm looking at the way it's fixed up. It's quite heavy towards the first half of the month, quite literally halfway through the month. On the 16th is when we have the cup game against Everton, more of which in a few minutes.
Cup game against City.
Oh, sorry, against City. And we...
If we don't have enough fixtures, Trev's inventing some.
I've just decided...
He's made a new competition.
We'll play Everton in the cup just for...
It's the only cup Everton we're going to win this year.
Yeah, it's just... So at that stage, at that halfway point of the month, at the end of that Saturday evening, we'll either be in an FA Cup final, in a Champions League semi-final, really handily positioned.
Wow. That suddenly struck me when you said that.
Yeah, really handily positioned in the league, or we could be none of the above. And when I say none of the above, we're not going to have a fall off in our league form that stops us being anything other than second. I touch wood, at worst. But that halfway point of the month, you're either looking forward to the rest of these fixtures with like joyful abandon, or there might be that sort of downhearted sort of feel to it because, well, we've got the league now and that's possibly not great or not likely, whatever. We have to get through in Europe, I guess, is what I'm saying shorthand. We just fucking have to. I don't see any other way around this. It's a necessity for us to get past Benfica. The City game in the cup, I want to talk about in a second. I want to assess your take on how important that is. And the City game in the league. I mean, if we beat Watford, there's a possibility that the result might need to necessarily go the way of a win for us at their place in order for us still to be in with a great chance of winning the league. But I think, Kam, if we're being honest, to win there puts the run in a very favourable light for us then, and it gives us the feeling, doesn't it, that we can stay top because we've done it before.
It's effectively the title decider, isn't it, that day?
Well, is it when you've got Manchester United and Everton, and you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but it's psychologically it's huge. If if one of the teams was to win that game, you've got to genuinely think they've got the edge now. They've broken the other team possibly. Now, who do I see mentally more fragile out of the two teams? I'd actually say the fragility of Pep can really feed into his squad. I think he's quite fragile in that he's fragile about Liverpool and Klopp. I don't think he's fragile as a manager or a coach, whatever else you want to say. He's a phenomenal coach. I think he's one of the greatest coaches ever, and I think the way he's changed football in the way City play, I think, and the way Barcelona used to play, even though that was a natural evolvement from what Frank Rijkaard has started, or you could even go back as far as saying Johan Cruyff. But I think what he's done at City, the way he's got them playing football, I mean, I'm actually getting bored of it now, watching that football, because it's just too much possession almost, and it's just too much sideways, and there's not enough shots on goal, and there's not enough excitement for me. But that's by the by. But I think, when it first started, it was like, wow, this is phenomenal. It was like when Klopp came in and he was doing, the pressing, that first game against Spurs, for 60 minutes, that first game, it was just like, what the hell, and it was just something different. It was something, wow. And I think, but Pep has got this thing in his mind, in his head. We are in his head all the time. And if we were to win that game, and it's a big if, because not many teams go to the Etihad and win there. It's a tough place to beat City at. It really is. You've got to be on your A game plus to win there. But that travelling clock will have so much of a part to play in that game, because they're going to outsing the Etihad. There'll only be about 5 City fans there anyway. So
we knew he was going to do it. I knew he was going to say it. I was just waiting.
Yeah, the old ones are the best. That's good. Yeah. This is where how we roll here. I think you're right. There's a lot. There's a lot of good points there, and it's bringing me to this game that you referred to as well, and you're talking about the travelling cop. And Lisa, I'll start with you on this one, because the FA Cup game against City on the 16th is thankfully on the BBC, which means I can actually see it, which is handy considering I think I'm doing Raw for that. So it would be good to be able to see the game as opposed to the horror
details.
that Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Details, yeah. What did you make of the farcical scenario that was playing out around about that fixture? And there were some interesting suggestions being put out there about places where it could be played instead, or swapping the league and cup fixtures with City and the dates of them. But it seemed as if nobody who can make those things happen was willing to bend on this. And so the sop given to Liverpool and Manchester City fans who will have no trains, which would have been the most popular way to travel there, is that they're going to put on 100 coaches each, which I guess works out about 5,000 fans catered for. When I spoke to Jan about this last night, I kind of just cut to the chase very quickly, because he's spent a lot of years knowing exactly what Liverpool fans do. And we've had a reputation for decades, Liverpool fans, of getting to games no matter what it takes. And he's right. People are just going to bung in together in cars and buses and everything, and they'll get there anyway. So it's not really about not getting represented, or people seem to think that there wouldn't be Liverpool fans in the stadium. Of course there will. But it just seemed very mealy-mouthed, the way that they tried to, inverted commas, solve it, didn't it?
I mean, honestly, do the people who put these things together not look at a calendar and not think? I mean, it boggles my mind. I know that's a rhetorical question. But yeah, I think, from everything I have seen and witnessed, Liverpool fans are going to travel, regardless of whether it's in London or it's in Manchester or, down in Brighton. We're going to have fans there and are going to be represented. I mean, even we kind of touched on this a little bit. A few weeks ago, I don't even remember how it came up, but I was talking about how, I went to that preseason game, up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and there were 100,000 people there. And I mean, It was Liverpool. I mean, granted, it was Liverpool and Man United. So, I mean, it's two of the most popular teams in the world, but still, we filled a stadium essentially of over 100,000. So certainly, and that was just a preseason friendly. I mean, it wasn't anything. So yeah, I mean, the fans are going to be there, but it was almost just a token. It was a token gesture. Well, here we go. We're providing some buses for you. So now leave us alone. Yeah,
exactly.
You can't say we didn't do anything for you. Here we go. We've helped. But I mean, even to know that regardless of who it was, and my understanding is, I mean, there's something about the train service, because it's Easter weekend and they're doing repairs to the tracks or something. I mean, it could have been anywhere, not necessarily that it was Liverpool and Manchester City in that semifinal, but, there could have been fans from anywhere that would have been in that spot. So that's why I'm like, don't they look at a calendar and think about these, greater piece of these things? But I know I'm silly.
Yeah. Well, obviously, anyone who considers fans first is quite silly, because that's been the ongoing lesson of watching authorities of all ilks lately. It's not necessarily people's welfare that's at heart. Certainly not when it comes to football fans. And it's disappointing to see that kind of thing, or to see the lack of willingness to bend around it. But look, one way or the other, it's a big game, and Kam, you might get an extra close look at it, I hear.
Yeah, I will be. I'm lucky enough to be going to the semi-final, and I will be driving the Podfather down.
Yes.
Yes. So, and then we'll be meeting up with Harinder, Baji, and Mr. Singh's Pizzas and all the boys and everyone down there when we get down there. And hopefully we'll be, because it's Saturday night, there's no rush to get back. Hopefully we then be celebrating probably at Mr. Singh's Pizzas not far from Wembley afterwards. So, we'll be driving down. We weren't going to be looking at a train or a coach or anything like that. The situation, semi-finals are never going to be changed from Wembley. So for those saying, they should have just done it at Old Trafford, 76,000 seat stadium, it was easy. It's just not going to happen. Wembley, the FA have got a stadium to pay for, and it's contracted in that the FA Cup semi-finals, blah, 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 whatever, that for the next gazillion years are going to be played at Wembley. For me, it detracts from the competition. It takes away something from the competition, because the idea of the FA Cup was a day out at Wembley. It was to get to Wembley to watch
100%.
the final.
Yeah, I agree.
That was the magic of the FA Cup.
Yeah, it's supposed to be rare. It's supposed to be a special occasion.
It was meant to be the pinnacle of the football season.
Yeah.
And the FA have sold their souls for money. Well, that's a surprise, isn't it? You tell me who hasn't.
If you recall in the past, Cam, if you failed to settle an FA Cup final that was played at Wembley on the day, they used to just bung it into any old match for a replay at any old stadium for the replay.
And then even the FA Cup final used to be a replay, but not at Wembley.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
So you could like even the final itself in the past. That's how special the idea of the day at Wembley was, and it is absolutely watered down. But you're right. And
I've actually, you know what? I've got a feeling there was one final replayed at the Wembley. Was Tottenham once where Ricky Villa scored that amazing goal? Was that replayed at Wembley?
Was that a replay? That was 81, right? I recall that. But I
80 was West Ham, wasn't it, with the Trevor Brooking goal?
I'm pretty sure it was 81, but I don't recall. I don't recall it being a replay.
The goal was under lights.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
It was under lights, wasn't it?
Yeah, I recall it at night as well, so maybe it was a replay. Yeah, but I know United replayed a cup final and it was at like Villa Park or something, or it's definitely, the point is anyway that it's supposed to be a one-off occasion.
Yeah.
And it is,
and they've taken away from that, haven't they? So
they have, but I mean, I think Jan's right in what he's saying as well, is that, it's now more inconvenient and it's a bit of a screw you to the fans. And there was the possibility that it could have been played on the 10th and still played at Wembley, right? Unless there was some super duper event on at Wembley on the 10th. And I don't know, maybe there's some sort of concert on or something like that. But that was another opportunity that could have still been played at Wembley rather than push somewhere else and then play the league game on the 16th. But anyway, I think young Malby's right when he says there's no two ways about it. It's Liverpool fans are going to get there exactly how you're getting there, right? They're going to all bundle into as few cars as possible and just
look. Trev, how many fans got to Kiev? How many fans got to Madrid?
That's what I mean.
How many fans got to Istanbul?
Yeah. But we used to do it. We used to do it in the We used to do it in the 70s and the 80s when it was impossible to get anywhere. You know what I mean?
It was part of the experience.
Yeah.
So let's be honest, a Saturday getting to Wembley for a 3:30 kickoff, that's a doddle.
It is.
For Man City fans now, let's not go there. I don't want to put them down too much, but they ain't fucking getting there.
Yeah, I look forward to
embrace the journey, people. Just embrace the journey.
Embrace the journey. Yeah, I look forward to seeing this split actually in the stadium on the day. I have to say, I'm looking forward to that. And I do think that
it'll be the same as the League Cup final. They'll sell out. I'm sure they won't be returning tickets for that game. It would be so embarrassing if they did.
Oh God, you'd have to think so. Yeah, you'd have to think they're going to manage to. We should probably just leave it at that, because obviously then the second half of that calendar is going to be coming into a bit more firm focus as we move on. And by the time we do our next show, it'll be Tuesday the 5th, Wednesday the 6th, Thursday the 7th. It's going to be Friday the 8th, and we will have 2 days before we play City and Benfica over the space of 3 days. So we have we'll have Watford and Benfica behind us and City and Benfica ahead of us. So we'll have plenty to be talking about. We're stuck bang in the middle of that. We'll have plenty of time then in later shows to focus on the likes of United and Everton and Newcastle towards the end of the month. We have to do, I think, the age-old, boring as hell Liverpool philosophy of taking one game at a time. That's basically all we can do here, or two, as it happens to be when you're doing podcasts once a week. And as Cam says, it's 2.5 games a week average. Stato Cam sorting us out there earlier.
That's only on a 2-week basis. I've worked that out. Don't at me, folks. Don't at me. Because, if we looked at the week before, it was probably only one game that week. But hey, let's not go there, folks.
Average. We're working on an average.
Yeah. Check on Twitter later on. Kam will be supplying graphs and heat maps to give you an idea as to the fixture regularity. That's old Stato Kam. He's always ready to help you out when it comes to the finer points. We should start wrapping this up because it's hitting the hour mark, and we want to keep this at the usual length. I'd have to say I have nothing specific. Like I said, I just been distracting myself anytime I could with stuff that's funny. I would say, just for those of you who are interested or even care vaguely about our various side projects, I had a real highlight today. I woke up to the author of the latest story that I covered for the Great Stories speaking to me directly, and then following the account and being really complimentary about the episode and the interpretations and the analysis and all the rest of it. That's pretty fucking cool, I have to say. So thanks to Karen Warren for that, I have to say. And that was the 40th episode. So if you do have any inclination at all in you, and by the way, like I say, there are people as diverse as some of my students, I can't even believe it, listening to stuff like that, and people who I would have thought, and they would have thought of no interest in it. So there's 40 of them there now. There might be something for you. So go to greatstoriespod.com and have a look at that if you are interested at all. That's all I've got to plug, and that's all I've got to say. So I'm going to ask Kam if you've got anything in that vein that you want to flag up before we finish.
Just the usual. Enjoy what's happening at the club at the moment. I don't know if everyone's seen it, but or if you guys have seen it, but have you seen the picture of Mo's mural? Yeah, that one.
Yes.
Is that picture on the wall? Yes, I did see that.
That's the one. Picture on the wall. Isn't it phenomenal? So I can't wait to go to Liverpool and get a look at that in real time. I think it's just, if that doesn't convince the guy to sign his new contract, then nothing will. It's all over. So that's just amazing. But yeah, all things AI, all things Great Stories, all things Trev Downey, all things shitart at trevdowney.com. All PayPal donations to trevdowney.com. All Oscars at trevdowney.com. All slaps to trevdowney.com. We didn't actually touch on that, did we? But anyway, that would have been interesting.
Oh, let's not.
Oh, we'll get there, Lisa Marie. Don't you worry. There's no way we don't get there at some point. What about yourself? What have you got to sign off with, if anything?
I don't have anything to sign off with. I am on the Nina Kaiser post-match show tomorrow after the Watford match. So, be offering my 2 cents worth there. And I just echo everything Kam said, greatstories.com, AI, everything. There's been some great content out, the last week, 10 days, during the international break, a couple of really good old school podcasts with Dave and Gags and just some really good things to listen to that, are timely, but, don't necessarily have to be listened to right this second. So, it's there. So, definitely if you have not sought it out already, I would certainly recommend that you do so. And other than that, everyone have a great week. I hope the sun is shining on you where you are. It is currently shining here. And
no, we've had snow.
No, it has gotten cooler here.
I was in a blizzard yesterday.
We've had mental weather too, but it hasn't gotten that cold. I mean, we do have a frost warning tonight, but yeah.
Oh, it's going down to -2 here tonight.
Good times.
Which is cold for us,
Yes.
I know it's a summer's day for you, Lisa, but it's cold for us.
It is not a summer's day to me. Where do you think I live? Alaska?
Near as.
Find Tennessee on a map.
Yeah, well, I've got to say before the children get unruly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap this up here. Unbelievable. I can't leave them alone for a little bit of banter between them all, but it descends into chaos. We will be back.
We're going to carry this on after. Don't worry.
We'll be back with you, like I said, next week. We'll have 2 games to talk about, 2 games to look forward to. That's the way we like it here, as Liverpool supporters, and as people who are doing content for this channel of ours. And you should really, like the guys were saying, consider subscribing if you haven't already, because there was a great push on over the last fortnight. It was genuinely enjoyable stuff. Dave obviously does Trojan work on a daily basis, and that's always very interesting. And just a lovely variety of bits and bobs to keep people distracted and entertained in a time when it's pretty bleak. Let's be honest, the international fortnight. So good job. Hello, can you hear me there?
We can now.
You can. You just got off there. I was just about to say up the 5 substitution Reds, but
I've literally no notion what happened there. It felt like the power just drained out of my microphone. Anyway, I'm going to finish this now quickly. Jesus, this is terrifying. So everything's plugged in. How can power drain? That's weird.
Power surge.
Prince Andrew's watching you. He's walking around outside. Actually, probably Dave Hendrick.
Your magnetic
earlier.
Personality was just too much for it, Trev.
Oh, shut up. Okay.
That just dropped on me. It took me a minute, but there you go. I got that.
I need you, Lisa Marie, to finish by telling everybody not to worry. Everything will be okay in that voice.
Can I say, be kind to your fellow Reds and stay safe out there?
Okay.
Smashed it.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Mind yourselves. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.